here's another reason why you want to take control of what you're doing.
Everything kind of funnels into the only winning move is not to play the game.
So I got to ask permission to buy the gun, and then I got to pay to ask permission to carry the motherfucker outside of my house. How about you go fuck yourself?
Well, welcome, guys. This is a special report from Bruce McGee, and I am AKA the Weathered Soul here on theweatheredsoul.com. I was asked to do a special favor by Harkos, one of our co-hosts. And if you can remember back, if you watched, let me see, what was it? Episode, actually, it wasn't an episode. It was another special report that we did for the debate, for the Trump debate, the Trump and Biden debate. And Harkos, when we had a couple of guests on at the time, and one of them was Shane Mecklin, and the other one was Walter Hudson, and we were debating after and commenting after the debate. And Harkos had some situations that he wanted to bring up with the Veterans Administration. So Harkos was kind enough to give me a video that he wants me to post, and I wanted to do a really, really special thing for him today, because on our X podcast, which we do, we have X spaces that go on every morning from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on X, formerly known as Twitter. You can go in there. All you have to do is go follow me, or go on to X Spaces and look for TWV, and that'll give you the weathered view. And we do that every morning. We're doing a special week on veterans struggles and the benefits and the VA and all the things that go together with doing stuff for the VA, or trying to get services for the VA. And for some people, it's pretty easy. For some people, it's pretty hard. And for some people that are just starting out and going through bureaucracy, it's really, really frustrating. And I can understand where Harkos is coming from. So I want to give a couple of minutes out to you guys. This is a short, probably 30 or 40-minute video, but I want to share this with you. It's Harkos and the plight that he's going through to get his veterans benefits.
What's up, y'all? Harkos here, Weather Report. And for those of y'all who watched the Thursday night, the first debate between Trump and Biden, if you guys tuned in, there were a lot of y'all that tuned in, especially over on X. And I showed up a little bit late, but for those of y'all who were watching, you may have saw me get extra fiery when Trump mentioned, I did so much great reform for the VA, and the VA is so much better now. We take care of our soldiers. And I went off. And I tried to be reserved and stuff like that during the debate, but I got a little carried away. And then also after the debate is when I really kind of went in on it. But I wanted to tell you all what I've been going through in a little bit more detail with the VA. So everybody always says, oh, the VA is great, the VA is great. There's so many reforms that were made under Trump. And for all the things that I like about Trump, for all the things I don't like about Trump, which usually the don'ts outweigh the likes, but that's pretty much any politician. The VA is definitely one of them. Obviously, lockdowns were a huge one that I fucking hate him for. But the piddly ass reforms that he did to the VA, anytime I hear somebody say he made the VA better, I want to laugh at them in their face, like right in their fucking face, right? And just because of my experiences with it. Now, obviously, the VA now is leagues better than what it was for the Vietnam people when they came back, right? Obviously, those motherfuckers got shafted. So I'm not trying to say that the shit I'm going through is worse than what they went through, or the shit that anybody who is essentially any of us millennials or late Gen Xers that have been in since the terror war started any of the bullshit that we've been dealing with, right? Because there's a lot of people who, I know people that I was in with that they have no problems with the VA at all. Maybe it's just their local branch. I have no clue. But I can talk to thousands and thousands of people who will shit on the VA and give you long explanations why. And then, of course, we already know about, you know, the 22, 23, 24 soldiers a day who fucking kill themselves because they can't get the shit out of their head. And the VA is no help for that either. A lot of times they'll blow their brains out in the fucking parking lot because they show up for a scheduled appointment and then they find out the appointment was canceled and nobody told them, and then the next appointment's not for another month. And so they feel like, oh, well, nobody's willing to help me, so fuck it, right? And sorry, I'm walking in the woods, as you all can see. This is what I do for my morning mental health therapy. Not prescribed by the VA. I prescribe this myself, and we'll get into a little bit why. But anyway, you know about those people who yeah, my dog's like split a tree on the walk and I had to untangle him. Anyway, so you know, you've heard about people blowing their brains out in the fucking VA parking lot because they can't get help because the VA wants to fuck with them. And I recently talked to somebody who they touted the reforms that Trump made, and almost in the same breath started talking about how they had a hard time getting their father, their elderly father, care at the VA. They wanted to keep pushing off. They pushed off cancer screening for 3 months, almost killing the guy, until the person I was talking to finally just kept beating on all the doors possible, and finally got somebody to answer. After over 3 months of not just getting simple cancer screening, that luckily they still got taken care of. Dude's dad's not dead, so happy for that. I was absolutely, you know, I don't want to see anybody die. I was happy when John McCain did, but that's a different story. Anyway, you know, warmongers die. It's kind of a good day for us who don't want war. But you know, when they, anyway, sorry, my fucking allergies. Anyway, happy that, you know, he got taken care of and he didn't pass, right? But it was close. So it kind of rubs me the wrong way sometimes when I hear people say that, you know, they know somebody who didn't get the care they needed, almost died, but yet the VA is awesome because of Trump. It kind of speaks to that party blind faith shit that I fucking hate about politics. And yes, I know this is a political show, but you know, anyway, let me get into my story with the VA. So for those of y'all who watched the episode, you might have saw some of my shit, but I got out of the military in October 2008. The worst time to get out of the military because the economy took a shit. I was unemployed for 5 months. And my first job after the military was working nights at a gas station. So I'm glad my military training paid off. You know, like they tell you in all the recruitment advertisements, right? You know, learn skills for the future. Apparently my future was getting out of the military after being in charge of millions of dollars worth of equipment, after leading a squad as a PFC because my E5 was incompetent. You know, stuff like that, getting awards for fucking doing an E7's job as an E4. You know, all those fun things that, you know, you do above and beyond, you do great management, and then you get out and your first job is at a gas station after 5 months of being unemployed. But, you know, timing is what it is, and I had a bumpy road, but I've learned a lot of shit, so I take it as a lesson in life. Anyway, so I started going to the VA for mental health care because I was going to mental health while I was in, and after about 2 to 3 sessions, it's been a while, so I can't really remember. They ended up telling me, well, you know, you seem to be adjusting perfectly fine, because I had an adjustment disorder. You seem to be adjusting perfectly fine, and you can't have PTSD because you weren't in direct fire with anybody, or you didn't get blown up. So, you know, you seem to be doing fine. So, you know, you don't need to keep coming back in unless you absolutely need us, then just let us know. And so I was like, well, okay, then fuck you. Like, after 2 appointments, you can't fucking tell me that. And so I'm like, all right, fuck y'all, right? And then at that time, you were hearing about, you know, people go for a regular checkup at the VA and you come out with hepatitis and, you know, shit like that, right? Horror stories of the VA back in the early 2000s. Well, so I didn't go anytime after that. Heard about these Trump reforms and everything. I was like, okay, let me give it a few years to kick in. So in 2023, I'm like, all right, let me go ahead and get established. So I contacted them. I'm like, okay, hey, look, need to get reestablished, yada, yada. They're like, okay, well, you know, you've been gone for a while, so we have to reactivate you. And then you're down at, they built a new clinic in my town, which previously the closest place was an hour away. And so they're like, oh, well, you know, yeah, if you want to go to the clinic in your town, we can transfer you up there. We got to reactivate you and transfer you. Somebody will get in contact with you, give it a couple weeks, and then somebody will reach out to schedule an appointment with primary care and get you reestablished. Like, okay. Well, a month went by, and I needed to go to urgent care because I had like this huge like bite on the back of my leg, right? I didn't really know what it was. So anyway, I go to urgent. Now I call them and I say, hey, I need to get in. Sorry, my dog just jumped in the truck when I wasn't supposed to. Anyway, so I'm like, hey, I need to get in and, you know, get this checked out and stuff like that. And they said, okay, well, go ahead and, sorry. So they looked in there and they're like, well, we can't find you. I'm like, well, I just called and reactivated not long ago. You know, here's all my information, yada, yada, right? And so then they ended up finally finding me. Oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, so somebody said like about a month ago they were going to get me reestablished. Oh, well, I don't see anything like that in here. Like, do you even see that I called? I'm like, no. I'm like, okay, great. So nobody put any notes in and nobody did their job. So they're like, well, let me go ahead and reactivate you. And it's probably going to take a couple weeks, you know, you'll hear something and hopefully you'll hear something this time because I'm making sure I'm doing it right. Like, okay. They're like, well, go ahead and go to urgent care. Tell them your VA. And you have to just give me your social security number because you don't have a VA medical card because I got to reestablish you first, right? And this was about June of 2023, somewhere in there. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go to urgent care. Doctor looks at it. He's like, oh, that's a spider bite. Looks like it might be getting infected a little bit. Let me go ahead and give you some antibiotics, yada, yada, right? I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't have to pay anything. I had to pay like a couple of bucks at the pharmacy to get the medicine, right? So a couple months go by. Haven't heard anything from the VA whatsoever. So I go into my local VA clinic and tell him the story. I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm supposed to be getting reactivated, yada, yada. He looks in there. He goes, well, I see where they had, you had called in and they referred you to urgent care, but I don't see anything about reactivating you. I'm like, great. He's like, well, let me do it right now. So he reactivated me right there in the system. He even showed me on the computer he was doing it. I'm like, okay, thank you. And then he was like, okay, well, you know, again, unfortunately, you're gonna have to wait a couple weeks for them to call you to schedule an appointment with your primary care, because I was at the place where primary care is, but the scheduling department is in a call center an hour away, right? And so I'm like, okay. So then I wait and wait. 4-ish months go by, and so I'm like, what the fuck? Nothing. And during that time I signed up for the PACT Act, right? Because the PACT Act, you had to sign up for it, you know, last year or else you couldn't get it, right? So I signed up for that, and about 3-4 weeks later I get a booklet. That booklet I was showing off on the live stream. I get a booklet that just talks about VA healthcare. That's it. I didn't get any letter that comes with it saying, hey, you're approved for this, this, or that, or nothing. I just get a booklet talking about VA healthcare. That's it. And so, like I said, you know, 4-ish months go by after I walk into my clinic. 5-ish months go by after I signed up for the PACT Act. Nothing from nobody, no letters, no nothing, right? No letters, no phone calls, nothing. So I go schedule an appointment with my local VA rep. Okay, so I go in there. He was busy that day, so I talked to like his assistant or whatever, who she's been there for like 15 years or whatever, like, you know, helping vets and shit like that. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go in there and I'm telling her what's going on, and so she goes into the VA system and puts in the stuff to reactivate me for a reevaluation on my disability from the VA, because it was at 0%. And I'm like, hey, I think I got some shit, that's been lingering over all these years and stuff like that, blah, 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 from the military. She's like, okay, well, let me reactivate it and get you reevaluated so that we can reestablish your disability. I'm like, okay, thank you. So she does that. She's like, okay, well, in regards to this, go ahead and call the number right here on speakerphone with me, and we'll see what's going on if you have any problems. So I call, tell them, hey, I need to get reestablished, I need to schedule an appointment. They say, okay, give me 1 second, let me transfer you over to scheduling. And then while I'm on hold for like a minute and a half, I'm sitting there, I'm like, are you kidding me? After a year, they can just magically transfer me to scheduling? Well, then they come back, and it was the scheduling department on the phone. And they're like, oh yeah, how can I help you out, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I need to get a primary care visit. They're like, oh, okay. And this was a Wednesday or Thursday, right? And they're like, okay, well, we can get you in on Monday. I was like, this coming Monday? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, so real quick, do you know why it's taken me over a year to get this appointment and you're able to get it in 3 days? She's like, no, I'm sorry, I don't know that. I'm like, yeah, I had a feeling you wouldn't know it. It's kind of like a redundant question. I apologize, right? So I get off the phone and my VA rep is sitting there like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's crazy. So I go to that appointment. Everything goes fine or whatever, And I tell them, I'm like, hey, I'd like to refer to mental health. They're like, okay. So then they put a referral into mental health. They're like, you should hear something within a couple days. Okay, cool. I hear something within a couple days. And they schedule a phone intake session. I'm like, okay. And it was like 3-ish weeks away. Okay, fine, whatever. I've been waiting over a year anyway, so fuck it. So I get the phone intake session, right? And he calls me right at the time and on the day that was supposed to happen. I'm like, okay, cool. And then he's like, all right, well, I got your intake information, blah, blah, blah. Scheduling will be reaching out to you here in a couple of days to schedule you with a person at your local office so you can talk to them. I'm like, okay. A couple days later, I get a call and they put a schedule in. And again, it was like 3 or 4 weeks away. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And that was over the phone. That wasn't even in person, because the in-person ones were even further out, which I didn't understand, but okay. I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, it takes a little while, but, hey, things are finally moving smooth. I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe things have changed. So then I get the phone appointment, talking to the lady over the phone. Things seem to be going good. Okay, cool. She's like, okay, well, I'm going to put in an order here to have them schedule you every week here for a few weeks to get you in so we can talk either on the phone or in person. It doesn't matter. And so we can kind of start, getting some stuff taken care of and helping you out. I'm like, okay, cool, awesome. Then 2 weeks go by. Hadn't heard anything from scheduling. I'm like, okay. So I call, and when you call, you press the button to schedule an appointment. So I press that, and then I get the mental health place and tell her I need to schedule an appointment. She goes, okay. Well, she took down my information. She's like, all right, well, I'll put this ticket in for scheduling to call you in a couple of days. I'm like, okay, here we go again. All right. So then scheduling doesn't call me in 3 days. Okay. So I call back after 4 days. I'm like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And so they're like, okay, well, hold on. I'll put you on a hold, and I'll reach out in like a chat or whatever to scheduling. So they're sitting there going back and forth on chat with scheduling. And then the phone gets disconnected, so I have to call back, and the other lady does it again, right? And so then so they're looking into it, and they're like, oh, okay, so your counselor never put that order in. She's putting it in right now, though. I'm speaking to her in chat. I'm like, okay, so she didn't do her job for 2 weeks. Okay, cool, whatever. And then they're like, okay, so the first available appointment is, and then they gave me a date that was, I'm not fucking joking, 6 weeks away, a month and a half away. And I said, that's a month and a half away. I just saw her like 3 weeks ago. Like, what? No, I think it was a month away, because it was a total of a month and a half since my last appointment, right? Yeah. And so I was like, well, I just saw her like 3 weeks ago. Like, I can't get any, no, sorry, blah, blah, blah. I was like, even for a virtual? Or like, no. I'm like, okay. Well, I guess she was still on with my counselor, and my counselor was like, oh, and so like, okay, well, we'll go ahead. We're actually going to double book you on the 17th of June and get you in. It's going to be a double book, but we're going to be able to get you in. I'm like, okay, I don't know how you're going to double book and still see me, but okay. Well, then you know, a couple days go by, and I'm just like, this is kind of getting ridiculous. What? No, on that phone call too, I was like, look, this is getting crazy. Like, what, you guys can't see me more than every month and a half? I was like, can I get a referral? I heard, you know, some of the reforms that Trump did were that you can get a referral to outside care and stuff like that if the VA is too busy to help. And she's like, oh yeah, we can get that set up for you. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, so go ahead and get that. And she goes, all right, but you're going to have to keep this appointment and go to this appointment, and in the meantime, we'll get you a referral to outside care. I'm like, okay. Well then, I didn't hear anything for like a week or so. And then I get a phone call after about a week and a half, and they're like, hey, yeah, sorry, so we're gonna have to cancel your appointment on the 17th because it was double booked. And I was like, well, yeah, they said they were gonna double book it for whatever reason, but still get me in. And she's like, well, no, there's something wrong with the system, blah, blah, blah. She blamed it on the system. I'm like, okay. So she had to cancel it. I'm like, okay, so what's up with my referral to outside care? She's like, well, I don't see anything in here. I'm like, give me a fucking referral to community care, right? And she's like, oh, well, you have to call this number and stuff. I was like, no, it's ridiculous. I'm not calling this number. And so, you know, I end up hanging up with her, calling back somebody else. I'm like, hey, I need to get a referral to community care. And then they're like, oh, okay, well, we see that you have an appointment on the 17th. I was like, no, they just called me and said they canceled it. And she goes, well, I still show it here, but when you go to the appointment, after you go talk to your therapist, she can get your referral to community care. And I'm like, no, this is ridiculous. They just canceled that appointment. Well, so then I hang up, and I just call my primary care physician. And I was like, hey, look, scheduling and mental health, they're fucking with my mental health. I was like, can you guys put me in a referral to community care? I was like, I know how it works out here in the regular system. If, you know, your primary care refers you to something, it pretty much goes through. And they're like, okay. When my guy, he was like, my actual doctor called me back like an hour later, and he was like, hey, I can't put you in a referral for community care, but I can put you in another referral for mental health and put that you want to go to community care. And then when they call you to schedule, you tell them that. I'm like, okay. So then like 4 days later, they call me, oh yeah, we have to schedule your appointment. And I'm like, no, you're not supposed to be scheduling my appointment. You're supposed to be doing community care, yada, yada. She's like, oh, okay, well, let me go ahead and put that in. So you don't want me to schedule an appointment? I'm like, no, because y'all canceled the last appointment y'all set with me. She's like, okay. So then, I get a letter in the mail on the 24th of June that's dated the 21st of June and says, you have 7 days to schedule from the date listed at the top of this letter to schedule your appointment with, and they gave me the location for community care and stuff. And I'm like, oh, so I only get 3 days to schedule it. So I call them, right? Because it says, hey, here's your authorization number. You go ahead and self-set your appointment. That's what they call it, self-setting your appointment. And so I'm like, okay, so you give me a referral and I gotta go set my own appointment. Okay, fine, whatever. So I call them. I'm like, yeah, I need to schedule an appointment. They're like, oh, well, you just walk in. We do walk-in intakes. We don't schedule intakes. We do walk-in intakes. And then, so I refer, you should probably get here on this day at this time, this time frame and stuff like that, because these days are busier, yada, yada, right? And I'm like, you can't schedule an appointment for intake? And she goes, no, we do walk-in intakes, and then after that, then they'll schedule you with a therapist. And I'm like, well, that's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, that's what I've been going through. So no, the VA has not been reformed. It's just as fucking ridiculous as before. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention, whenever I went to urgent care, after about 2 months, I've been getting collection bills from a collection agency over that bill, and even bills from the hospital for, it's like $350 or something like that, from that visit. And I turned it into the VA, and they still haven't paid it. They told me to go. They have it on record they told me to go. And they're not paying it. I'm getting collections for it. For my fucking medical bill from when they told me to go to outside care. And I still have yet to get this fucking medical VA card that I'm supposed to have. That, I can use at like pharmacies. And if I go to urgent care, I swear. Apparently that thing exists. But I've never gotten one over a year. The VA is fucking broken. You can hear horror stories all goddamn day. And I don't care. Shit, I voted for Trump twice in 2016. So I don't care if you're on the Trump train or if you're on the anti-Trump train. The VA is fucking broken. No The only thing that has been done is this community care thing, and even that is a clusterfuck. The VA system is broken. You can get on state Medicaid, and it is better than any VA system. That is fucked up. It should be equal to. A lot of people would say greater than. I say no, just make it equal to. If government ran healthcare is supposed to level the playing field, make everything equal for everybody, then it fucking needs to be. The VA shouldn't be fucking horrid, but yet if I only made $12,000 a year, I can go in and get all my medical shit taken care of and get referrals to mental health and get my therapy that I need every week or every 2 weeks. If I barely made any fucking money, I could get mental health no problem off of Medicaid. I could get into the fucking doctor, I can get in the dentist, no problem. They're not gonna fucking jerk me around if I'm on Medicaid or Medicare. But if I'm on VA care, oh, it's fuck you. And see, that's the thing, is that they promise, if you volunteer, you get all this training, all these life skills, yada, yada, we'll take care of you. And when you get out, the VA system will take care of you. You won't have to worry about shit. But then that system is designed to fail. I mean, just think about the scheduling system. I call my primary care and say, I'd like to schedule an appointment. They put in a ticket for the scheduling department to call me sometime within the next couple of days. And they always call when you conveniently can't get to the phone. And then they never leave messages. They don't have extensions. So you got to go back through the fucking loop again. How efficient is that? It's not. When you press the button to schedule an appointment, you should be able to schedule a fucking appointment. Not fill out some fucking information and send it to the scheduling department, and the scheduling department will call you sometime within the next 3 days at random. So you need to stare at your phone all day for the next 3 days so you don't miss it. And don't fall asleep. Don't do nothing. Just you hold your breath and you fucking wait on the goddamn VA. This is how they treat you. For those of y'all who aren't in the VA, for those of y'all who have no connection to the VA, I'm telling you right now, this is how they fucking treat you. You volunteer, they give you all these fucking promises, but they are all lies. Anytime you hear, I heard fucking Biden on the goddamn thing, made me laugh hysterically when he said that the United States government, I always hear politicians say this, the United States government always stands up to their promises. Bullshit. We've been breaking promises since we created this country. All the promises we made to the Native Americans and all the way up through today when we make these fucking promises to these 18-year-old kids and tell them if you go in the military, you'll get this, 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 and that. And when you get out, we got you covered and everything. It's all fucking lies. The whole war on terror was a fucking lie. And everything they tell you from the fucking government is a fucking lie. Everything. They give zero fucks about you, no matter if you work for them or not. The only way that they take care of you is if you're actually useful to them. You're either a useful idiot on the government dole, not doing shit but voting the way they want you to, and abiding by all the fucking experimental mandates they want you to fucking do, and you're a fucking a test case for totalitarianism. That's when you're useful. That's when they care about you. Or if you actually work for them, while you're working for them, they'll take care of you. But after that, fuck you. Fuck all the promises. They don't care. This is why I told the fucking VA to go fuck themselves from 2009 to 2023. And this is why I tell every single person that I know not to join the military. And if they are veterans, I tell them they're better off getting fucking Obamacare. They're better off getting on Medicaid. Because the VA doesn't fucking work for vets. It is broken. And I think it's designed to be broken. It's designed to kill off the most valuable citizens. Yeah, I get it. I've been in the military. There's plenty of pieces of shit. Okay? Not everybody who joins the military is a fucking grade A fucking human being. Guaranteed. There's a lot of pieces of shit. But when you go in the military, you get trained how to do a lot of things. You come out with a lot of skills. And after you're done, after the government's use for you, they want you to roll over and fucking die. Because they don't want you to be a threat to them. And then they don't want you to be a fucking hindrance to them either. That's my story about the VA. I know I went into it on the live stream. If you haven't watched that live stream from the first debate, go check it out. We had some good coverage, and I went on a rampage a little bit. And my rampage, I kind of went off on some of the guys at the live stream, but I was really, my rage was aimed at the VA, just like it is right now. I hate the fucking government. All aspects of it. I have created my life to where I don't rely on them as much as possible. Okay, like roads, shit like that. The bare minimum. I don't rely on the government to do a fucking thing for me. I was testing out this whole VA system, and I'm still going to go to this community care thing and see what I can do. I'm still going to go through, oh yeah, speaking of my reevaluation for disability, they were supposed to have reached out to me within a couple weeks. It's been over a month and a half. So I'm going to have to go back and talk to my fucking rep again and have them put something in again. The system doesn't work for us at all. The system is made to enslave all of us. And I get every election season, you hear all kinds of people, no matter what their affiliation is, telling you, you need to go vote, because if you don't vote, then X, Y, Z. But even if you do vote, they still don't give a fuck. You vote for one person, but then the people who control the presidency, whenever they get in, tell them they can't do that. How many broken promises did your favorite politician not make, not get, in regards to all the excuses? I hear this all the time from Trump people. I hear this all the time from Obama people. Because I'm 37 years old, so I mean, mainly Bush, Obama, and Trump, and now Biden are like the only ones I've really got ground level experience dealing with. When Bush was in, oh, it was the Democrats were holding him back. When Obama was in, oh, it's those racist Republicans that were holding him back. Trump got in, oh, it's the deep state, the establishment, the left-wing lunatic that were holding him back. Biden gets in, oh, it's those MAGA conservatives that are holding him back. The system is designed to move the way it wants and give you the illusion of choice outside of that. So whether you vote or not, it doesn't matter. The system's going to do what the system's going to do. They're going to put in whoever they want to put in. I do not believe that Trump was elected by popular mandate. I believe they put him in to do every single fucking thing that they did. They set so many precedents with him as president, like that pun. They set so many precedents on what they can do now, thanks to his term in office. All the COVID lockdowns, thanks to him. All the political prosecution of people, thanks to him. The drone wars, thanks to him. The spying, thanks to him. Fuck, his right to choose legislation that he was able to get through, that gives you the right to, to, if you're about to die, you got stage 4 cancer, you can try experimental shit. That led way to the experimental vaccine. They rode on that. And he wanted to ban TikTok and everything like that. Well, guess what? We finally got the TikTok ban in, and what they're using now, they're using that legislation to have a digital online ID. You're welcome. You can blame Trump on that. You can blame Biden on that. It doesn't matter, because the system wanted that. That's what the system has wanted. That's what the system is getting. The system gets what they want because they are the multi-billionaires and trillionaires of the world that actually run everything. They pull the strings. They hold all the cards. So my message to y'all, just the same as what we say on the intro of Weather Report, is this. Build your life to where you are as self-reliant as possible. Yeah, if you build a business, you're going to have customers, you're going to be relying on them. But don't be reliant on any system whatsoever. Don't rely on one social media platform. Make sure you're on all of them. Excuse me. Don't rely on one payment processor. Make sure you have 3. Make sure you always have redundancies, because if one kicks you off, there'll be another one. Perfect example of this is look what they have done to Alex Jones over the years. Whether you love him or hate him, take all that away. Take your love for him away, take your hate from him away, and look at his test case. Look at what they've been able to do. They've been able to kick him off of all the socials, smear his name, run him through the fucking court system, hit him with $1 billion lawsuit for some shit that he said in like 2012. And they didn't hit him any time from when it happened, any time in the 10 years after it happened. They waited until now. Why? Set a precedent. Same thing that one dude from Shark Tank, not Mark Cuban, but the other one, the bald white guy, said about that court case in New York that Trump just went through. They're setting a precedent that if you speak out, they can seize all your assets as a billionaire and stuff like that. We need to not do business in New York. It's all about setting precedents. Stop playing the system. Don't vote. Don't participate. You want to get involved in your local community? Absolutely. Get involved in your town, your county, fuck, maybe even your state shit. But don't participate with the federal bullshit. Keep as many federal regulators out of your life as possible. And keep as many state regulators out of your life as possible. Don't owe anyone anything. Be your own person. And pave your own fucking way. And if you choose not to do it, then guess what? Don't bitch about anything. Don't do it. Especially to people like me. Because I'm going to tell you to fix your fucking life and shut your fucking mouth. 100%. Y'all have a good one.
All right. Well, that was very heartfelt from Harkos, our co-host, and I have to feel with him as being a veteran myself and having to go through the struggles of getting some care for my 93-year-old mom, who is also a veteran. It takes a lot of time and a lot of door kicking. And in my opinion, we should never, ever let our veterans struggle to get the health care that they need, to get any care that they need, let alone question the care that they need. And the levels of bureaucracy and paperwork and continued paperwork and the duplication of paperwork and all the other stuff is ridiculous. So I hope you guys got a little bit out of this today. And like I said, we are dedicating this week on the X spaces that we do from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. every day on X. You can catch that. Just go to X and put in TWV, and it'll take you to our podcast. And that also comes out on the video. It all comes out on your podcast app also. And you're welcome, if you're a member of X, then come on in and you can join the show and give your comments and your opinions on that. But I want to thank you guys for being around. This is a special report, and we'll be back next week with some bonus content from Ray Eric. And then in a couple more weeks, we're going to have John Odermatt on, and we're going to talk about gut health. So anyway, we thank you for being here. Thank you again. And thank you for your time. And we will see you the next time on the Weather Report. Have a good one.